My name is Graham Benton. I'm a sales leader within the UK sales organisation. I'm one of the co-leads on Women at HPE, and I'm also one of HPE's mental health first aiders. IMD is a really important date in the calendar for raising awareness about the challenges that some men face. This year we're focusing on mental health, which is a topic really close to my heart. So I suffer from anxiety. I apologise in advance, not for suffering from anxiety, not from talking about it a fair bit, which I do, but I start off talking about mental health, and I always tend to gravitate towards anxiety. Anxiety can strike anyone. It's not a sign of weakness. It's not symptomatic of anything else. Those of you who have met me in the flesh before all this, I'm 6'6", big bearded yeti of a man. I'm sort of a straight talking northern bloke. I'm normally pretty confident. I've generally been quite successful. Some of you might know I'm a rowing world champion. I shouldn't be. I'm not the sort of person who has mental health problems. Not the case at all, unfortunately. I suffer from anxiety and panic attacks. I think my personal condition, I'm not going to call it an illness, is most likely referred to as panic disorder, but it's all kind of shades of grey. I have symptoms of agoraphobia, social anxiety, OCD, health anxiety, but my initial fears of heart attacks and sort of health-related anxiety, and now you kind of typically do get a fear of panic attacks as well as it develops. I always thought of myself as a strong character, resilient, positive, not susceptible to stress or anxiety, until one day, pretty much out of nowhere, I'm in the back of an ambulance. Anxiety itself is natural. It's your body's natural response to a perceived threat. And in many ways, it's helpful. It serves a purpose, but it can become overwhelming. It can become difficult to control. And typically, anxiety is, when it becomes an issue, is out of proportion. And it can create all sorts of long-lasting problems and even physical symptoms. And when you've got these symptoms, when you see these signs, that's probably the time to seek specialist help. A bit of stress is generally good. We need it to perform, and the right amount of stress brings out the best in us. However, it's very easy for stress to accumulate. Stress can come from all sorts of areas: work, relationships, family, money, society, viruses, health, and so on. It's when we spend too much time beyond that healthy level of stress that becomes an issue that problems can start to emerge. Work for me was never the main trigger. But it's not always the main trigger is the one that identifies the problem. Sometimes there's just that straw that breaks the camel's back sort of thing. For example, many of us will have targets, either sales targets or goals. It's very easy to obsess about those targets or judge your worth based on your attainment against that goal. For me, I need the target, but I need it as a reason, as a justification to start a process. It is that kind of, it's that light at the end of the tunnel, that North Star that says, right, you need to build a process towards that. For example, rowing. The Rowing World Championships are in February, biggest event of the year. I plan on competing, but the thought of it stresses the hell out of me. It's horrible. And the last few days I'm a nervous wreck, and it's really quite uncomfortable. And it dominates my life. So once I've decided to compete as I have, that basically justifies, that gives me that reason to build that program and to start that journey towards that process, towards that as a goal. And once I've decided to do that, once I've built the process, I try and forget about the race. I don't really focus on it at all. I obsess about the process and I enjoy the process rather than obsessing about the outcome. And I find, it's better for my mental health, but it's so much better for my performance as well, because I actually perform better in the process rather than constantly gazing into the future about what might be. I find that really counterproductive, and it just drives better results if I do it this way. Same in sales, same in work. If you focus on doing the right things consistently, you'll get the right result. Don't focus on the results itself. It will just increase your stress levels. We all put far too much pressure on ourselves as well. We're our own harshest critics, and frequently we're never good enough. You probably heard the term imposter syndrome. This is where we compare ourselves to our peers, and they're always far much better than us. They're always, we don't deserve the role we're in. We're going to get found out. People will realise we're not as good as they think we are. It's not the case. It's really not the case, and the chances are, we put other people on a pedestal. The chances are, they do the same to you. Being self-aware is good. Being aware of your flaws is good. But judge yourself objectively. Judge yourself in the same way that you judge other people, and give yourself credit when you deserve it. All of these pressures are counterproductive, and they just layer on top of inherent pressure that will be naturally present in life. There's also the potential, this sort of misconception, this new way of working is better for the work-life balance. It will be for some people. For me, probably is actually. I think I'm sleeping more, I'm exercising more, and I'm probably actually working more as well at the same time. But that's not always the case. People, are you working from home or are you living in the office? Some people will find it very hard to detach themselves from work. We're all adapting to so much this year, and some people will find it easier than others. You don't assume your experience is the same as everyone else's. Someone said to me, we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. The sort of signs of mental health or poor mental health can really creep up on you, can be really subtle. There are things like insomnia, loss of appetite, lethargy, hyperactivity, irritability, inability to relax, a lack of enjoyment for things you used to find fulfilling, illness, headaches, muscular pain, pretty much anything. And that's what makes it very hard, right? Because we've all experiencing these from time to time, and it's not always anxiety, but it's looking for changes in your behaviour. It's good to look out for the other people in this case, and this is what I'd really promote this, because sometimes you will see a change in someone before they see the change in themselves. For men, there's a perception that having some sort of mental health issue is not manly, or it's a sign of weakness, and this is why so many men suffer in silence. Whilst men and women both suffer from mental health issues in roughly the same similar numbers, men are considerably less likely to seek help. Overall, only 34% of people suffering from anxiety ever get a diagnosis, and the number is even lower for men. And whilst I've mentioned that suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 45, around 70% of people who attempt to take their own life suffer with some sort of anxiety disorder. So what can we do? What can HPE do? What can we do as colleagues? What can we do as an organisation? From a HPE perspective, we've all seen some really positive initiatives and activities lately. So we've got things like Winter Wellness. Strava is lighting up. We've got Wellness Friday, love a Wellness Friday. And things like access to Headspace and other ad hoc activities that the teams are doing individually. And it's just so positive to see the importance HPE is placing on this area. There's also formal support available in the EAP, probably underutilised. The EAP is out there, it's really helpful. And also via a health plan. My initial treatment was on our healthcare provider, and it was brilliant. I had cognitive behavioural therapy, and it really helped in terms of just kind of resetting the way I thought about things. Like to stress here, the EAP is completely in confidence. All that is captured is usage stats, no identifying data. So HPE knows it's being used, but not by whom. For me, the most powerful thing that I've encountered within HPE is when leaders show vulnerability. I've seen leaders in this organisation admit to their entire organisations that they had to go missing for a day, or they had to take a day off because they just felt like it was all getting too much for them. That is not weakness, that is strength. But you don't need leader in your job title to be a leader. There are leaders throughout the organisation and throughout all aspects of our lives. You have positional leadership, which exists because of authority and because of the role, and personal leadership, which exists because of the relationships that exist organically between people. And a good positional leader will often have strong personal leadership skills too, but personal leadership is not dependent on role. We all know those people who raise a group by being part of it, or whose advice you seek when you need it, or who are admired just for the way they conduct themselves. Have a think if you're one of those people, or could you be? Are people richer due to their interactions with you? As colleagues I mentioned before, look for subtle changes in your workmates. Reach out to people and make up for those sort of lacked or those missed spontaneous interactions we're not getting currently. Those water cooler moments, those coffee chats. We're just not having them right now. If you're an individual, share your story, be vulnerable, and help create that safe environment. If you talk, others will follow, but someone has to go first. Could it be you? Make it clear that you're available for people to offload to, and that you will listen without judgment. Don't need mental health first aider training to be a better friend or colleague. As individuals, how can we help ourselves? I've found when my defences are strong, my anxiety is easy to control. Only takes a crack in the armour though, and I can feel it starting to get through. It doesn't go away. It's just some days it's not a problem, and other days it's more of a problem. Things like eating healthily, drinking plenty of water, getting enough sleep is massive for me, but unfortunately suffers when you're struggling a little bit as well. Find ways to relax. Exercise is another big one for me, and it's great to see so many people doing the winter wellness and walking the dogs and running and whatever. Brilliant. Human contact, all these things help. All obvious things that just help to put you in a better place overall. And if I find myself slipping in some of these areas, and I can start to see anxiety just creeping it in, I'm giving it away and I'm opening the door to it. I think a lot of us take our mental health for granted. I know I did. I was bulletproof right up until the point I wasn't bulletproof. Don't take your mental health for granted. Put good patterns in place, good awareness in place. Look for signals, look for your triggers, and address them early. It's so much better to take one day out now than to need a month off further down the line. And just look out for other people too.